Hi guys, welcome back to another week of learning online and through videos. It's looking like this is going to be the new normal for about another month or so. So I know you guys are working hard, so just keep working hard. The good news is no STAR test, right? But we still need to keep working hard so that when you get to 5th grade, you are right where you need to be. So at the end of the video, I'm going to let you know about a few things that you need to keep an eye on this week because we are changing the way we're doing things. All right, until then, we're moving on to angles. So Friday we went over lines, and we know that angles are made up of lines. All right, so today we're moving on to angles. And just like last Friday, you can go ahead and make your sheet look something like this so you can cut it out, play a game of memory, something like that. Okay, first things first, we're going over vocabulary. So the vocabulary is here on the left side, definition, quick drawing of what it looks like. All right, so we remember that an angle is when two lines meet at a shared endpoint. Okay, if we take out the one from last week, we know that lines, it could look like a line segment, or it can look like a ray. It doesn't matter, these are both lines. So we know that a line has two endpoints, or 2 points in them. An angle is two lines that meet at a shared endpoint. And I went ahead and put corner right here. You're looking for corners, right? Or like I told you guys, if we're talking about triangles, we're looking for tips. What the tip of a triangle would look like. So this, when we talk about angles, there's types of angles, which are these right here, but then there's also names of angles. When we go to name an angle, that's going to be what these are right here. The name of the angle are the points that make up the angle. And the most important part to remember is that your middle point, the point that connects the two lines, must always be the middle letter when you're naming your angle. So here, this can be angle ABC, or it can be angle CBA, but that endpoint, that shared endpoint, must always be the center letter. All right, so let's look at the first type of angle, a right angle. It's any angle that measures 90 degrees. Just like yesterday, how do we know if it measures 90 degrees? Well, you can just take a regular sheet of paper, mark up a corner. Okay, that corner will always be 90 degrees. So if you put that where those two lines meet and it measures up correctly, it's a 90-degree angle. So just like when we name this angle up here, the letter B is my endpoint, my shared endpoint, so that must be in the middle. All right. Next type of angle is acute, and that's an angle that measures less than 90. So it can be anywhere from an angle that measures 1 degree all the way to if the angle measures 89 degrees. And just like when we were measuring this, how do I know if it's acute or not? Well, you can always just put your paper down, right? If it were a 90-degree angle, my other line would have to be right along the side of the paper. It is smaller than that, therefore it has to be acute. And finally, an obtuse angle, right? An angle that measures more than 90 degrees. And so if I don't have a protractor, how do I know if it's more than 90 degrees? Again, use your paper, line it up on the bottom line. If this were a 90-degree angle, my other line would have to be right here along the edge of the paper. This line we can see is more than that, therefore it has to be an obtuse angle. And of course, when we name our angle, our center point must always be the center letter. All right, so we're going to move on to our packet. Okay, we're on the page that says angles. So number one, pretty easy, a right angle. This goes back to vocabulary, vocabulary, vocabulary. All right. Right angle, 90 degrees. Always, always, always 90 degrees. Simple enough. All right, so we're going to spend a lot more time focusing on this one right here. Not necessarily just answering the question, but looking at this mess of lines and angles and seeing what we can find here. Okay, why can we label some things angles? Why can we not label other meeting points angles? So I'm just going to take the time here and we're just going to label every single line that we see. Okay, so the first line I see right here, I'm going to go ahead and go right here. We know that this is a line segment, right? Because it has two endpoints. It looks like this. So when I label it, I'm going to label it line XY. So let's find a different one. Okay, we'll go right here. MN. With this, okay, it has two continuous lines, so it's not a ray, it's just a line. So when I go ahead and draw this, just add in my arrows. MN. Okay, I see a QR. QR looks like a ray. Remember, when we label a ray, you have to make sure your endpoint comes first, and then your other point goes where the arrow is. Here's another one, QP. That is another ray. And finally, I have QS. All right, so I think I have 1, 2, 3, 4, all 5 of them labeled out here. All right, so it's actually asking us to find angles, but we're going to go a little more into this and see why some areas aren't angles. So when we go back to the definition of an angle, it's where two lines meet at a shared endpoint. So if I look here real quickly, I can see, because I drew these out, I can see all 3 of these have one point in common, and that's point Q. And if I look here, Q seems to be the endpoint for all of these. So I can clearly see if I do RQP, that's an angle. I can do PQS, that's an angle, and I can also do RQS. And you'll see here, Q is the center letter for every one because that is my shared endpoint. Now, when we looked at the definition of corner or angle, we also noticed that it said corner. Okay? Well, if I look here, I can see other corners that are formed, right? So this right here formed a corner. Right here, there's a corner. Okay, same here. But what are these corners missing and why are they not an angle? Remember, that corner has to be a shared endpoint. Point being the point I'm trying to make. If we look here, Q represents a point, and it is shared by all of these lines. We saw that when we drew this out. When we look at XY, okay, or even MN, so where it formed right here, there is no point. Yes, these lines are what we call intersecting, but there's no point here, so it doesn't have a shared point. In order for lines to form an angle, it has to have a few things. Remember, we called this 3, 2, 1. It must have 3 points, 2 lines, and 1 shared endpoint. So right here where line MN is crossing line QR, there's two lines, but there are not 3 points that are meeting right here. So it only qualifies under the two lines. It must hit all 3 points. So if we look at RQS, I have 1, 2, 3 points. I have 1, 2 lines, and I have a shared endpoint. So always keep this in mind when we're looking for angles. Okay, so I know today's video was a little bit shorter than most, but once you get the definitions, the vocabulary down for angles and the types of angles, and you remember 3, 2, 1, then angles really aren't too much of a problem. So going forward, videos like this won't be posted as often. They'll be posted about once a week on Monday. And in these videos, I'm going to be focusing on the areas that I think we struggled with the most. So I'm really going to be focusing on fractions. That is a big 4th grade TEK. And so that is an area that we're going to keep going back to and focusing on in the Monday videos. There will still be daily YouTube videos. These will be put on by the district. Okay, so if you guys tuned in to that Facebook, the teachers doing that, it's going to be those same teachers doing pages from the new packet that are being mailed to your houses. Now, if you guys tell your parents to check their emails, because myself, Miss Garcia, and Miss Knox, we sent out emails to all of you guys today that has information on when we're going to be doing our Zoom classes, which start tomorrow at 10 a.m. So you'll get a schedule. So it'll tell you whose class you go to at one time. And it'll also give you the link so that you can click on the link so that it'll take you to the Zoom class. And then lastly, it actually has a copy of the packets that are being mailed to you. So if you're worried about not getting a packet in time, if you're not sure if you updated your home address with us, okay, there is a copy of those packets that are being sent in that email. So have your parents check their email to us. If they check their email and you did not get an email from either myself, Miss Garcia, or Miss Knox, just send us a quick message on Blooms, or you can email us, all right, and say, hey, we didn't get a schedule, we didn't get a copy of the packet. So definitely keep an eye out for that, and we look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow if you can come. Remember, if you can't, we are recording these little classes that we are doing, and you can watch them later by going onto the Google Drive. And that email, that address, web address, will be in the email as well. So hopefully we'll see you guys tomorrow.